Good evening, this is TVS Nightline. We begin with this story. The Malaysian Meteorological Department is officially ruling out any seismic activity in Kota Samarahan, despite reports of mysterious tremors from local residents. While authorities maintain the ground was still, those living in the area describe a very different and much louder experience.
METMALAYSIA Director General Dr. Muhammad Hisham Muhammad Anib confirms that monitoring stations detected zero earthquake activity on Sunday, May 3rd. Results from a cross-analysis with international seismic agencies also returned with no data suggesting a natural tremor. However, residents in Kota Samarahan are searching for answers. Many reported feeling two distinct jolts, one at 9:30 a.m. and another at 3 p.m. 52-year-old Kudus Tony was among those who felt the earth move.
Saya merasa ada satu gegaran yang mungkin dalam 3 saat, 4 saat yang tidak berapa kuat.
Others described a more violent sensation. 30-year-old Muhammad Zulfikar Daud says the vibrations were accompanied by a startling sound.
Boom sekali, dek dah bergegar, bini kami dah lain dah. Kami pun dah sadar dia dah pegang tangan anak dah. Nya 2 kali bunyi. Boom, gegar, boom, gegar.
While there are no reports of injury or structural damage, the discrepancy between official data and the lived experience of residents has led to calls for a deeper investigation. METMALAYSIA continues to urge the public to rely on verified channels for seismic updates.
The MACC is intensifying its asset recovery efforts on 2 major fronts today, involving a high-profile corporate probe and the repatriation of multi-million ringgit artworks linked to 1MDB. In a press conference today, Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azambaki confirms that 8 individuals are currently in custody regarding the freezing of bank accounts belonging to garment giant Padini Holdings. Simultaneously, the Commission is moving to recover 8 additional masterpieces worth over 120 million ringgit as part of the ongoing 1MDB global asset hunt. The MACC confirms the asset freeze on Padini Holdings remains in place despite requests for release. While the company maintains the probe involves external counterparties and not its own staff, investigators insist the accounts must remain locked as statements are recorded from 10 individuals. Turning to the 1MDB scandal, the MACC is working to recover 8 more artworks by year-end, including pieces by Picasso and Monet. This follows the successful recovery of 4 artworks last month, which were traced through auction houses in New York and returned via strategic cooperation with the FBI and U.S. Department of Justice. The 4 recovered pieces, valued at nearly 800,000 ringgit, will be handed over to the National Art Gallery. Meanwhile, the MACC is pursuing a further 114 million ringgit from the sale of a Claude Monet painting in Switzerland, currently subject to U.S. seizure proceedings. A 19-year-old teen pled not guilty at the Kuching Magistrates Court today to charges of reckless driving causing the death of a cyclist in a hit-and-run incident at Jalan Sutong earlier this month. The court granted the accused a bail set at 20,000 ringgit with 2 local sureties. Additionally, he was ordered to report to the Simpang Tiga police station once a month.
Deputy Public Prosecutor Muhammad Filani CG appeared for the prosecution, while the accused was represented by Defence Counsel Daniel Ling. The court has fixed June 23rd for mention and pre-trial case management. The accused entered his plea before Magistrate Nur Shahika Nazar Razali after the charge, framed under Section 41(1) of the Road Transport Act 1987, was read to him. In the incident on May 1st, the 56-year-old victim died at the scene from severe head injuries after being struck by a vehicle that subsequently fled the location.
Affin Bank is ramping up its presence in Sarawak with the official opening of a new branch in Batu Kawah, a move aimed at boosting local economic development and expanding financial access. Affin Islamic Bank CEO Datuk Syed Mashafuddin Syed Badaruddin says the group's 13th location in the region signals their unwavering confidence in Sarawak's long-term growth potential.
This is just the start of many more branches in the coming future. Batu is a growing township with strong community and business potential. As the area continues to develop, Batu is committed to be present where people live, where businesses grow, and where new opportunities are taking shape.
He notes that Sarawak remains a critical growth market for Affin Bank as the group doubles down on its regional investment. This latest expansion also underscores the momentum of their Affin Accelerate 2028 or AX28 strategic plan, focusing on digital innovation and a commitment to high-impact, responsible banking.
Affin Batu branch reflects all three. It strengthens our physical accessibility, complements our broader digital ambitions, and reinforces our commitment to supporting the economic and social progress of Sarawak.
Fresh off its 150th anniversary, Affin Bank is pivoting to a new chapter of growth, with this Batu Kawah expansion serving as a cornerstone of that journey. The bank is now laser-focused on becoming a leaner, more progressive institution, aiming to drive long-term value for both local communities and the broader national market.
As if the past 60 years of sanctions were not enough, this year the U.S. has intensified its sanctions, creating a severe fuel blockade in Cuba, crippling its transportation sector and effectively reducing tourist arrivals by nearly 48%. RT correspondent Donald Corter meets transportation authorities and industry players in Havana to understand just how deep the impact of the sanctions goes across various transportation-related sectors.
Outages, petrol shortages, and no way to import new parts. Cuba's transport infrastructure is struggling to stay afloat amid a total U.S. blockade of the country. And the ministry in charge of keeping things together is doing its best to make sure that critical resources can get from point A to point B.
This blockade has limited the import of all needed resources, including fuel, parts, and components to keep transportation operating. Undoubtedly, these latest measures, in the last 2 months or so, have further aggravated the situation. Therefore, a series of measures have had to be taken to maintain the vitality of transportation in a group of services that are prioritized due to their economic and social importance.
The U.S. government, through the embargo, heavily targets Cuban shipping companies and vessels that come to the country to bring products, merchandise, and especially, like we've seen over the last 2 or 3 months, fuel. They impose hefty fines, which of course affects the entry of goods into the country and reduces the amount of products that can be transported within the country. If we don't have fuel, we can't move cargo, we can't use transportation. We have no way to transport the products. To give you an idea, in the last 7 years, Cuba has seen a decrease of more than 45 million tons in the amount of cargo moved within the country.
Public transport is plagued by shortages of both vehicles and equipment. In many cases, people simply resort to hitchhiking, especially when it comes to long distances. Ambulances are also being hit very hard, and when it comes to medical emergencies, delays can mean the difference between life and death.
Nosotros hemos mantenido We have maintained 100% of the transportation needs for some of the vital services we provide, Metabus, which transports oncology patients and hemodialysis patients between provinces. We have maintained 100% of those services. We have also maintained the transportation of medical collaboration workers and medical collaboration services, which provide services to a large part of the world.
Cuba's railroads make up an important part of the country's transport infrastructure, but it has chronic problems importing new parts for a fleet that's mostly made up of foreign older trains.
One of the biggest problems we have is the diversity in transportation, in railway equipment. We have Canadian locomotives, Chinese locomotives, Russian locomotives of varying ages. It's a variety of rolling stock that also makes it very difficult for us to access the international market. And the blockade today not only limits the country's productive capacity, our access to foreign currency, it also limits our ability to import because all this equipment, both the facilities and the rolling stock, are dependent on import. We have managed to keep this equipment running thanks to the innovation of our engineers and specialists.
The U.S. embargo has hurt many areas of the Cuban economy in terms of transportation, food supplies, worker logistics, medical services, and other essential areas are really suffering. It looks like Washington's hostile policy towards the island is doing very little to actually help the Cuban people and doing a whole lot to make their lives miserable. Donald Corder, RT, Havana, Cuba.
In other news, Sarawak is making significant strides in the global medical science arena, with its health research sector attracting 1.8 billion ringgit in funding since 2012. Deputy Premier Dato' Amar Dr. Sim Kui Hian notes that this growth highlights Sarawak's increasing capability as an internationally recognized research hub. The investment is not only bringing in capital, but is also creating high-value employment opportunities within the state.
Clinical Research Malaysia last month launched the annual report in Kochi, and that annual report shows that over 2012 until 2025, they bring in 1.8 billion research money. $1.8 billion research money, and majority of the money is there in Kochi. And in the process, they create more than 3,500 high-paying jobs. And since 2022, Sarawak General Hospital is a top research site for first in human. First time ever done in human.
Global pharmaceutical giant Roche has selected Sarawak General Hospital as a strategic site for global first-in-human clinical trials. The facility stands as the first hospital in the Asia-Pacific region chosen to test specific compounds for solid cancers. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim will lead Malaysia's delegation to the 48th ASEAN Summit and related meetings in Cebu beginning tomorrow. Malaysia's ambassador to the Philippines, Abdul Malik Melvin Castellino Anthony, says ASEAN leaders are expected to discuss the impact of the West Asia conflict on Southeast Asia, including the region's energy and food security. He says Malaysia's participation reflects its commitment to strengthening ASEAN centrality, unity, and resilience amid an increasingly complex global landscape. The summit will provide an opportunity for member states to exchange views on ASEAN community building and address the impact of the West Asia crisis, including the safety of ASEAN nationals in affected areas. Anwar will also be accompanied by his wife, Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail, as well as Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Hassan, Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Seri Johari Abdul Ghani, and Deputy Economy Minister Datuk Indra Muhammad Shahar Abdullah. Upon arrival, the Prime Minister will attend the BIMP IAGA Summit, followed by the main ASEAN Summit on Friday, where he is also expected to hold sideline meetings with regional leaders. Meanwhile, Muhammad Hassan will take part in several key ministerial meetings, including the ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting and the Joint Foreign and Economic Ministers session. The Philippines assumed the ASEAN chairmanship from Malaysia on January 1st this year under the theme Navigating Our Future Together. More than 650 ASEAN-related meetings are planned throughout its tenure, including 2 summits and 24 ministerial gatherings. The 48th ASEAN Summit and related meetings will run from May 6th to 8th. And that's it for TVS Nightline. Thanks for watching and have a good night.